Hi there. Welcome to the Sober Circle channel. Enjoy this speaker tape.
My name is Kay Stewart, and I'm an alcoholic. Hi, everybody. Boy, it's a real thrill to be here. I think 10,000 of us. And they decided to have this big party down here in Albany, and they invited me. Now, you know, they didn't have to do that. They had a choice, but it made me feel real good. Made me feel real good. I do sincerely want to thank the committee for asking me, and I'm glad all of you are here because I need you. I really do. Can everyone hear me? I hate to go to a meeting or any place where I can't hear nothing. So if you can't hear, just say you can't, and I'll talk louder. I haven't been accused yet of no one being able to hear me. But I'd like to share with you. Our theme is sharing and caring. And I think that is beautiful because that is the name of the game as far as I'm concerned. There's a little prayer that I like to open my meeting with. It goes something like this. I thank you, God, for all you have given me. I thank you for all you have taken away. But most of all, I thank you for all you have left me. And that is just the way I feel. I'm grateful for all God has left me. My story goes back a long ways. Now, I know that a lot of people will say, hey, I don't like to hear a drunkalogue. Now, I know how to drink. I want to know how to get sober. Well, you know, that's okay, but they told me I could talk. They asked me down here. They invited me. And I reckon you come because you wanted to listen, and whoever gets finished first can go home. Because I'm going to tell it my way, and then when it's your turn, I'll swear I'll listen. But for me, it's important. It's important for me to go back and remember where I come from and where I can go back to. All I have to do is take that one drink and I'm right back there again. And I don't want this to happen. Here again, I would like to tell anyone that is here, maybe new, and you hear my story, and you think, well, now, I didn't do these things. The things she done, I never did, you know, it didn't happen to me. Maybe I don't belong here. Maybe Alcoholics Anonymous isn't for me. Well, I beg you, don't be hasty in your decision. Because, you see, you don't have to go as far down that road to hell as I went. I was one of those people. I went all the way. Now, I believe that there are different degrees of alcoholism. There are many different levels. Someone referred to it as being an elevator. You can punch that button and you can get off on any floor. But I didn't punch that button. I did not get off. I did not want to stop drinking. Now, I am from Akron, Ohio, the birthplace of Alcoholics Anonymous. Now, you check your schedule. It's going to say on there Clinton. Huh? Well, that's just where I get my mail. You know, it seems to me, and this is just another one of those times that I'm on the outside looking in. I always was on the outside. I never just could get in with the big time, you know. And that was what I always wanted to do. I wanted to be with the in crowd. I wanted to be with the in people. I wanted to be on the inside looking out. And I always felt like I was on the outside looking in. Now, originally, I'm from West Virginia. Now, at home, they think I talk Southern. Well, now, they haven't been in Georgia. my husband said he thought he was marrying a Southern belle and he wound up with a ding-a-ling. But that's his problem. That old boy had a lot of problems, I'm telling you. But anyway, back in those hills of West Virginia, I lived 13 miles from the nearest town. Now, I say the nearest town, I mean where you could buy a loaf of bread, you know, sliced bread. And, I had good folks, real good people. I refer to them as the salt of the earth kind of people. They believed and they practiced, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. I had 4 brothers and 3 sisters. Now, my parents wanted my brothers to grow up to be gentlemen. That was their goal in life. And they wanted we 4 girls to grow up to be ladies. And along came Kay. I blew their program sky high from the very beginning, because I never done anything that my parents would have considered a lady to do. Now, I didn't want to be the way I was, you see, but it seemed that society and family, they had a little mold. And they said, Kay, you fit into this. Nice girls don't do this. Nice girls don't do that. And I just never was a nice girl, because I was never able to do what they wanted me to. But I tried. I really tried, because I wanted to be the way they wanted me to be. I always wanted people to like me, and I still do. I still do. It's important to me that you like me. I'd like for you to. So I've since learned, well, if you don't, again, that's your problem. You know, you really missed the boat. You just didn't get to know me. But at least as you hear my story, maybe you'll understand me a little better. Understanding. Love me just for what I am. I left those hills, I was 17, and I came to the big city of Akron, Ohio. And now you better believe that was a big place. Now they had street lights, and they had tall buildings, and they had people just running every which way, and beer joints, and nightclubs, and cars. Well, down home, if you'd see 4 cars in a row, you'd say, it must have been a big funeral. And now here I am, and all them cars and everything. But wanting to belong, wanting to be a part of. Well, I started going around with all these glamorous people. And I started going to all these beer joints and these nightclubs and stuff. Well, I drank that old White Lightning down home, and I liked it. I liked the taste of it, and I liked the smell of it, and I liked what it done for me. But you see, my parents weren't drinkers. Now, they would have a drink, but they weren't drinkers. So now I get to the big city, you see, and I know just what it's all about. And I started going to all these places, and I liked them. I liked them. I liked the bright lights, and I liked the loud music, and I liked the good-looking boys, and everything connected with drinking. I liked it. But I found out real early, now, if I want to be with the in people, I got to change. Got to change. Because I found out in Akron, ladies didn't drink out of a quart jar like we did down home. So now I got to start drinking the cocktails and the mixed drinks and all this kind of stuff. And I did. But I didn't like it. I still don't know why that you'd take a good shot of booze and put all this other stuff in with it and mess it up. But that's what I done. But I learned very early that all I had to do was make a few trips to the ladies' lounge, tell the bartender pour me one, he would, I'd drink it straight, and go back and try to drink like other people. Now, I was never able to drink like other people. I can never remember any time in my life that once I had taken a drink that I wanted to stop. Never. I would say, let's go to my house, let's go to your house, let's find an after-hours joint, but let's keep on drinking. I never wanted to stop. Now, drinking during these days, I refer to them as my fun drinking. I have since learned, after being in the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous, that there's a lot of difference in having fun and having happiness. But I thought I was having a good time. I really did. But I got married. I have 2 children. I have a son and a daughter. Now, during this marriage, I was divorced after 13 years. But during this marriage, my life was as normal as it was to be prior to Alcoholics Anonymous. Drinking was no problem. Drinking had nothing to do with this divorce. It was just something that happened. But I am grateful for these years because I like to believe that it was during this time that I gave my children some basis for good living. I took my children to church, to Sunday school. I was active in scouting, PTA, the things that most parents do, I did with my children. And I truly am grateful. I think that God certainly must have been looking out for these children because they did grow up to be beautiful, beautiful people. And I'm glad because, you see, as the children hit their teens, I hit the bottle heavier, and I wasn't able to guide them as they so desperately needed. Now, after this divorce, I moved in with my parents. I'm a hairdresser. Now, my mother took over the care of the children, doing the duties that normally had been mine, and I worked long hours. I worked hard. But after work, well, you know, I didn't have the responsibilities that I had before. So I started going out and kind of burning the candle on both ends, I guess you'd say. Anyway, my drinking increased. Maybe it was because I was at loose ends, or maybe I could now just do what I wanted to do. I didn't have to account for my actions. But anyway, my drinking increased at this point. It was about this time I started dating, you know, and I met this old boy. And he's a good old boy, and he could handle his liquor. He liked them bright lights. He liked the loud music. He liked everything I did. Now, he says that I got him drunk and got him married, and I don't rightfully know how it happened, but I married the old boy, and that's when my troubles really started. Now, I want you to know right now that most of the things that happened to me wasn't my fault. It was always somebody else. Somebody else. Now, to show you just how that come about, this old boy's name's KC. Now, KC, the first thing he'd do when he got up in the morning would be to have a drink. Now, I couldn't understand that. I didn't see that it was at all necessary. And I said, why? He said it made him feel better. He said the butterflies went away. I didn't have no butterflies. I didn't think it necessary. But you know, along about Monday mornings now we was drinking a lot on the weekends, and along about Monday morning I wouldn't be feeling too good. I've since learned that I was having a slight, very slight, hangover. And Casey said to me, he said, now if you'll have a drink, you'll feel better. And I didn't want to, but he insisted. He asked me 2 or 3 times, and I took that drink. It done exactly what he said it'd do. The butterflies went away. He went away. And then I went away. That's when I started my daily drinking. Now, I don't mean to imply to you that I was falling down drunk every day, but from that day on, there was few days that I didn't drink something. Well, now, Casey didn't drive, and I want you to know I was a good wife. I'd take that old boy any place he wanted to go. It didn't matter to me what beer joint it was. If he didn't suggest one, I would. But we started having a little bit of problems, but it wasn't my fault. And now we started losing our car. I don't know if this ever happened to you or not, but boy, I'm going to tell you, it happened to me a lot of times. And Casey was always getting some drunk to drive us home. And we'd wake up in the morning, look out, no car. Well, I figured, now look, I take him any place he wants to go. The least he can do is watch where we park that car, but he never did. I started calling my friends to go with me to help me find a car. And they started looking at me funny. I don't know if you've ever had people look at you funny or not, but boy, a lot of people looked at me funny for a long time. You know, kind of like maybe I was drinking too much. And, you know, after you have people to come time after time after time, they kind of act like maybe you have a drinking problem. And I didn't like it when people acted that way with me. It's not a way to win friends and influence people, I'll tell you that. But now I started hitting other people's cars. But it wasn't my fault. Now, I never knew what the guy in front of me was going to do. I didn't know if he was going to turn left, if he was going to turn right, if he was going to stop. I just didn't know, so I'd hit him. And I've had so many accidents, folks, I couldn't tell you how many. But I always hit him in the rear, always. And I used to say to Casey, did you see that guy give us a signal? Casey didn't see it. I didn't see it. I figured both of us couldn't be wrong, and I tried to tell that to the insurance company, but they didn't believe it either. So I was canceled with a couple different companies, drinking every day, every day. I couldn't take care of things too good at home. I couldn't cook very much. Of course, now I was getting to the point that I couldn't eat very much either. And I was one of these people that would drink every day, but then I'd go on these binges that I'd do absolutely nothing but lay and drink. But things was kind of, you know, this alcoholism being a progressive disease, and I can't emphasize that enough. It is a progressive disease. It always gets worse. It will never get better. Never get better. And it was starting to progress pretty rapidly now, you see, because my mother started nagging at me. Now, she decided that I drank too much. I said, hey, Ma, don't give me a bad time, please. I can quit any time I want to. I don't hurt anyone but myself. And I remember one time my mother said to me, she said, Kay, if you don't have any pride, if you don't care anything about yourself, for God's sakes, think of what you're doing to your children. But I had her there because I told her what a good mother I was. As I look back, I was as good a mother as I was capable of being at this time. But I pointed out to her that I took the children to all these sporting events, whatever they wanted to do, whatever you done with your kids, I did. And I had a babysitter for my daughter until she was 15 years old. Of course, she got married at 16. Now, here again, it wasn't because I was such a good mother, but it was so people couldn't look at me funny. So they couldn't point their finger at me and say I was neglecting my children. I gave my children more than they needed materially. But here again, I was trying to buy my way out. I always tried to buy my way out. I didn't want them to be mad at me. I didn't want them to know the things I was doing, so I tried to buy my way out. Now, I'm from a large family and a loving family. Now, I had always scattered all over. I had a brother in Florida and one in Arizona and a couple of sisters in Florida. But my favorite little sister lived in Newfoundland. Now, I started calling her up. I'm calling her all of them up, you know. But now you don't call Newfoundland for 10 cents. And now I was calling her every time I got drunk, which was 3 or 4 times a week, you know. And sometimes I'd forget what I called her about. And sometimes she would make me mad because she would accuse me of drinking. And I'd hang up on her, and then I'd get to feeling bad, and I'd have to call her back again. And these phone bills come in. And boy, that KC got right nasty. He got mean. I said to him, though, I said, "Hey, Buster, stay off my back. Don't give me no noise. You get drunk. You call everybody in the country. And now you're trying to blame me." Well, the truth of it was, he was drunk the biggest part of the time, and he didn't know if he did or if he didn't. Thank God, thank God. Because I'm a-telling you that if I hadn't been married to a drunk, I wouldn't be here to tell you my story. Any other man would have had me killed. Because I just done funny things. And now I was at the point of, now I was getting really sick. People started saying to me, "Well, you know, I hear you men tell me what a rough time you have getting up in the morning and shaving." Boy, you get up in the morning and try to get your face on before you get the beard joint. Now, if you use as much paint as I do, and you don't have too steady a nerves, you can't get these eyes on. Or you try going to a hairdresser and sitting under that hot hairdryer for an hour if you're sick. If you're sick, there ain't no way. No way. So now my hair's a-hanging. I tell that girl, take those things out of my hair. I'm a-getting, and I got. And I just went right on out and I drank. And my face is not on. And people said, "Kay, you look sick." Of course I looked sick. And I was sick. I said I got the flu. I had the virus. Oh, I had that virus so many, many times. And I had sinus trouble. Oh, I had sinus real bad. That accounted for the bags that I had under my eyes. But if all else failed, I said, "Hey, I'm going through change of life." They'd believe that. You know, I'd been going through change of life. I told them 10 years before I ever heard of that. Hey, you gotta tell them something. The alcoholic woman has to tell them something. Society demands we lie. We can't say, "Hey, I've been drunk for a week." What would they think of me? I couldn't tell them that. Things was really getting bad, real bad. I'm going to tell you about something that happened to me once. It was a real hot day in June. And I live out in the country. And I had on a bikini outfit. Now, that's just a little bit down here and a little less up here. And I was fixing food for that evening. I was going to have my drinking friends in. Well, the only friends I had was drinking people. If George didn't drink, George didn't come to my party. And if Susie didn't drink, she didn't come either. I only associated with drinking people. But I was going to have all my friends in, and I'm fixing the food for the evening, and I was having a little nip or two. Everything I'd done now, I'd have to have a little nip or two. And I decided that I checked the liquor cabinet, and I decided, now all these people coming, I better run to the liquor store and get a couple more bottles, just a couple more. And I took off for the liquor store in my bikini outfit. Now, we don't do that in Akron, Ohio. But drunk, I would and have done just about everything. And this day was no exception. But now on the way to the liquor store was my favorite little bar. Now I decided I better stop in there and see my friends. Now this is where my friends was, and see who was there and what they was doing, make sure the old gal was sterilizing the glasses and putting all the money in the till, you know, strictly minding other people's business. And in my bikini outfit, and I had a few, it was probably quite a few. But anyway, I do know that I made it to the liquor store, but the next thing I knew, I woke up and I looked around, and great day, I never had been this place before. Now, I'd been a lot of places. I never had been here before. But it didn't take me too long to find out that the little lady was in jail. Oh, my God, was I humiliated. Why, you know, this had never happened in my family. My father was never in jail. My brothers were never in jail. No one in my family had ever been in. And here I am. Well, I called Casey and I told him where I was. And Casey got someone to come over and get me out. And I said that day, this will never happen to me again. A little bit of bad luck. It could happen to anybody if you drank like I did and if you drove like I did. But I said it'll never happen to me no more. Now, I didn't intend to quit driving, didn't intend to quit drinking. But I just wasn't going to do them both at the same time. And I meant that like I had meant all these promises that I'd made. But you know, it was only about 3 weeks later, and I was over in Barberton, and I decided to take a nap over there in one of their main intersections. You're way ahead of me. I wound up in the same old place. I'm in jail again. Well, I called Casey and I told him where I was. And Casey, he tried to protect me. He really did. And he did for my family and my friends as to the amount I drank. Now, Casey didn't care that I drank. We both drank. We drank that old lovin' whiskey. We didn't drink that fighting booze. We just drink and love and drink, you know. So he got our son. Our son was 16. He just got his driver's license. And he brought our son over to jail to get me out. Now, friends, I want to tell you that this is one day I'll never forget. When I walked out of that cell and I saw this boy. He's a good boy and he's a handsome boy, and any one of you would be proud to call him your boy. And I was ashamed. I was ashamed. I wanted to go up. I wanted to put my arms around my son and say, son, I love you. I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to hurt you, but I can't quit drinking. I can't quit drinking. But I didn't say that, not with all my pride. I don't remember what he said to me, but I remember saying to him, come on, let's go. I need a drink. I need a drink. And I did need a drink. And I went out and I continued to drink. I've been arrested 4 times for DWI. Now, if it's never happened to you, it can. It can. See, these things had never happened to me before. I didn't wake up one morning and say, you know, my goal in life is to become an alcoholic. My goal in life is to hurt everyone I come into contact with. No, I never meant it to happen. But this was the way it was going. You know, anyone that drinks like I did, bad things are bound to happen to you. There's no way out. But I was a lucky drunk. I was a lucky drunk. I always had people out there trying to help me, trying to help me. I got out of things real easy because of the goodness of those people out in that other world. But the thing of it was, now was a sickness. Now was a sickness. This God-awful sickness. I was sick from the time I woke up. I was sick all day long. I was sick all night long. Sick, sick, sick. I can stand here and tell you about this sickness of alcoholism where that nothing in the name of God is going to do you any good but another drink. I can tell you about those nights that I'd wake up always after the joints had closed. You see, my husband and I drank primarily in the beer joints because someplace along the line we decided if we drank out that we wouldn't drink as much. Now, I don't know if you've ever tried that or not. They call that trying to control your drinking. I didn't know that until I came into the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. But they told me once you start trying to control your drinking, you have already lost control. But I didn't know. So now it meant that every morning that I was going to have to go and get a drink. But I remember these nights waking up always after they closed. I remember walking the floor, being so sick, so God-awful sick. I remember cussing the cigarettes. That's what made me sick. Always something else, but never the booze. Needing a drink. And I remember scrounging around sometimes, hoping and praying that I'd find a bottle and in there would be a drink, just a drink. And I knew that instantly I would feel better. But more times than not, I remember when I couldn't find a drink and how I'd have to walk that floor waiting until morning. And I didn't know how I could. Those terrible fears, those unknown fears, being so sick and so shaky that only a drink could help. It was really getting bad. It was really, really getting bad. It was one day after a particularly long binge, and my husband and I was up trying to get better. And my drinks wouldn't stay down that morning. Well, this in itself was no biggie. I had trouble a lot of times keeping that first drink down. But you gotta keep trying. You gotta get one down. You're not gonna feel any better till you do. If you have never been that sick, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But if you've ever been there, you know what it's like. And this day I tried and I tried, but it wouldn't work. Wouldn't work. I couldn't keep a drink down. It was the blackest day in my life. We came home. Now, we talk of resentments in Alcoholics Anonymous. Well, I want to tell you something. I had them way before then. And this happened to be one of those days. Because every drink that Casey took was staying down. He's getting snockered right out of his mind, and I'm dying. Well, we came home, and my mother was there. That's always a real goodie when you're sick and Mama's there. And now I'm going to have to tell her something. But I was too sick to lie. I said, "Oh, Mama, I'm sick. I'm so sick, so sick." She said, "If you're so sick, why don't you go to the hospital?" Now, my Mama didn't mean an alcoholic hospital because she'd never heard tell of such a place. But I had heard that there was a hospital, St. Thomas Hospital in Akron, Ohio. Incidentally, they're the first one that ever opened their doors to the alcoholic. And I had heard that you could go there and get the cure. Now, you see, I didn't know that there is no cure for our illness. It can only be arrested so long as we don't take that first drink. But I didn't know that. I turned around to my husband and I said to him, I said, Casey, would you give me the money so I could go to the hospital and get the cure? And he shook his finger at me and looked as cross-eyed as he could be, just drunk. And he said, I'll cure you myself if you'll listen to me. Now, folks, the only thing that ever kept me out of a mental institution was Casey was too drunk to have me committed. But I wasn't about to let that old boy try to cure me. And I went in, and I have since come to know that it was God that was directing me. And I went in, and I looked up the number. As sick as I was, I looked up that number of Alcoholics Anonymous. I called, a man answered the phone, and I said, can you help me? I'm sick from drinking. He said, oh, sure. He said, I'll send a couple women out to visit you. Now, I'm going to tell you that the last thing I needed out to my house was a couple women out there snooping around, and then they'd go out and tell everybody that I drank. Now, I vetoed that right away. I said, no, I just thought maybe I could get in the hospital and I could get better. But he was a wise man. He said to me, I'll call you back. And he did. He called me back. And boy, I was sick, I tell you. And he called me back, and this was something that impressed me then. But it impresses me more today, because this man, when he called back, he didn't ask me what side of the street I lived on. He didn't ask me what nationality I was. It's a good thing he didn't, because if they hadn't been taking West Virginians that day, I'd have been dead. He didn't ask my political belief. He didn't ask me if I was rich or poor. He didn't ask my religion. But he told me that I could be admitted to the hospital. My mother and my son took me to the hospital, the alcoholic ward. Now, here again was another day that I was ashamed, because I didn't want to hurt them. I didn't want to hurt my little mother. I didn't want to hurt nobody. But I went into the hospital, and I woke up, and oh my God, I was sick. And there was this lady, she was sitting by my bed, and she was holding my hand. Now, I'd never seen her before. And probably, very defiantly, knowing the way I was, I said to her, I'm in here because I drink too much. And she says, oh, yes, I understand, I know. I'm an alcoholic. Well, I took a look at her. The only way I can describe my sponsor, she passed away about 9 years ago. The only way I can describe her is she was a little woman, and she was a pretty woman. And every ounce of her was dignity. Beautiful, beautiful person. And I thought, my God, she wouldn't know a drunk if she fell over top of one. And here she's telling me she's an alcoholic. But you know what? I listened. And for the first time in my life, I knew that someone knew how I felt way down inside. Way down inside, she knew. I didn't have to lie to her. She knew. The next thing I remember, I woke up and she showed me a copy of the 12 suggested steps that Jim quoted to you. I took a look at those. Now, I understand I'm a beer joiner. And I looked at those steps, and all I could see popping out of there was something about God. Now, I didn't, I believed in God. I'd told the kids about Him, and I'd read about Him, but it wasn't a God that really applied to me. But, and anyway, someplace in there it says, you come to believe that a power greater than yourself can restore you to sanity. Huh, I wasn't crazy. And then it said something else in another place. You admit to yourself, to God, and to another human being the exact nature of your wrongs. Mister, I wasn't about to admit the exact nature of my wrongs to nobody. But I wanted to stay sober. I didn't want to drink. And I said to her, I want to stay sober, but I don't believe I can do that, but I'll try. But being the wise person she was and understanding a mixed-up creature like I was, she said to me, Kay, maybe if you would try to practice honesty, purity, unselfishness, and love. Very quickly she told me that honesty is either true or false. Purity is pure in heart, in thought, in motive. Unselfishness, you just think of the other guy. And love, she said, if you stay sober, you will find love for another human being you never thought possible. Well, you know, 4 is easier to do than 12, so I thought I'd give that a go. She told me about meetings. She says, meetings. Well, when she talked about meetings, the only thing I could think of was those old prayer meetings down home, you know, and I just wasn't ready for that. But again, I didn't want to drink. I said, how many do you have to go to? She says she goes to a meeting about every night in a week. I said, how long do you have to go? She said, as long as you want to stay sober. And, you know, everything I'd say, she'd give me some kind of a funny answer. But I said, I'll try it. And I'll go to 1 meeting a week if my husband will let me. So I came home, and I'm going to tell you that everybody in that place was thrilled to death to have me sober. Now, Casey kind of thought I had a little drinking problem. And my mother thought I did. And everybody thought I did. And so they was just delighted. And I started going to those meetings. And I liked them. I liked the people I saw. Because they were just the same kind of people I was, except they didn't drink. So I started going, and I really liked it. Now, they said a lot of funny things. They really did that I couldn't understand. They said, 1 day at a time, don't take that first drink. Now, I thought that was kind of childish. It wasn't that first drink that ever got me drunk. If I hadn't stopped at Tony's last night, I'd have been okay, you know, on the way home. But they kept saying that. And they said, let go and let God. They said, pray. They said all these things. Well, Casey, he was doing real good. I'm telling you now, he just thought this was a great thing, and he was doing good. He cut his drinking in half about this time. He gave up the water. But everything was just shaping right up. They'd get some speaker up front, though, and talk a long time, but they'd talk about medication. Now, they said in their opinion that the alcoholic should be very, very careful about medication. Now, they said that there was a lot of good doctors, both in and out of AA. But it seems that most alcoholics are very addictive prone, and that they go to a doctor and he says, you know, you go home and you take one pill every 4 hours. It seems the alcoholic could go home and take 4 pills every hour. And we just kind of overdo stuff. Well, now, I just, this didn't apply to me. So many things that they said didn't apply to me. But anyway, I thought you'd get a 50. It would cure anything from corns to snake bites. Now, I'd never taken medication. I thought whiskey was the answer. It would cure anything. I took it for everything. I advised it for all my sick friends, and if they wasn't sick, I advised it anyway. But things was going along real good for me, but it so happened to be that it was necessary that I go to a doctor, and he prescribed some of these little pills for me. Now, you had warned me about it, but again, it didn't apply to me, and I was going to have 2 major operations. And so I'm still not really knocking his pills. It was just the way I handled them, I guess, because I'm going to tell you, I took one of them little boogers, and it was good. It made me feel good. It made me feel happy. It just gave me that old go fever. And that's what I done. I just went right out and I got drunk. They told me in AA that it was just like eating your booze instead of drinking it when you take that kind of stuff. But anyway, I got drunk and I wound up in a little drying out place, and I come out of there and went into the hospital, and I had these operations, and I come out, I was able to walk back and forth across the floor. And my husband's sister come to visit. She lived in Kansas. Now, boy, I was going to impress her, and you better believe I did. She'll never forget me. She wanted to go down West Virginia, and I said, well, sure, I'd take her. Now, it was a 6-hour drive. But now, I was taking them little pills, and I believe I could have walked there in 6 hours. And I took her, and now Casey didn't want me to. He didn't think that physically I was able to, but Casey is still drinking a little, So I didn't have too much trouble convincing him. Anyway, I took her down there, and I took her to a relative's house. I went to the hotel, which was my usual pattern. I checked in, ordered myself a fifth of booze, and I proceeded to get drunk. She come up to see me that night, and law, she didn't even know I drank. And now I want to tell you, I was drunk, and when I get drunk all over. My hair gets drunk, my arms get drunk, my legs get drunk. I just get drunk. And she'd never seen anyone could get that drunk. And she called my husband. Well, he called, and he suggested that I come home. Well, being the little lady I was, I said to him, you know where I am. If you want me, come and get me. Now, we only have one car in the family, and I had it. But being the kind of a gentleman my husband was and is, that's exactly what he did. He and our son got a cab and came the 6 hours to pick me up. Now, the only thing was, when he got there, instead of one drunk, there's 2 of us. And I'm going to tell you, friends, that was what I hope and pray and know can be my last drunk. Because I'm going to tell you, for the next 3 weeks, our son drove the car back. I don't remember coming back. I'd have blackouts. Blackouts is nothing to me. You drink too much, you black out, so what? It's all a part of the game. But now for the following 3 weeks. 3 weeks, my friends, my husband and I laid in our own home, unable to get out to get a drink. We just called out and had it. Like me, but it did. We just laid in there like 2 hogs. We had a bucket on each side of the bed and never hit the bucket. Now, I'm going to tell you, you think one drunk in a bed for 3 weeks is bad. You get 2 drunks in a bed for 3 weeks. Mister, you got a hold of something. Because I'm going to tell you, there isn't any difference in a 3-inch carpet or a 3-inch gutter. When you're all the way down, mister, you're all the way down. It doesn't make any difference who you are or who you think you are. This old booze has a way of making an equalizer out of us. We was laying in there dying. I mean dying. You talk about waiting for the alcoholic to call for help. My God, we couldn't have found a phone if there'd have been a dozen of them. We was laying a dying. I was hallucinating. I was seeing these blame cats. They'd run and jump up on the bed. I'd reach out and pet them. Oh, I like cats, you know, so that didn't excite me a bit. But another black cats, white cats, yellow cats, all kinds of cats, big ones, little ones. But I'm going to tell you something. I got up, I reckon it's looking for a drink, I don't know. But there's a dead man in a clear plastic suitcase packed in ice. Now, mister, that scared me. I didn't want that dead man in my bedroom. And they said that I went in and I called my sister and I said, you better get over here because that KC's going crazy. He's seeing dead people, not me, you see. I'm a dying and I had to lie on KC. But my sister came over, she and her husband. And thanks be to God that they knew that I had been going to the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. And they called a friend of mine, Jim, and told him the situation. Jim called back. And now I don't remember this, you see, but Jim called back and he said, evidently, he said, how's things going, KC? And KC said, my God, Jim, we're dying. We're dying. Will you help us? And Jim came. He brought Juanita. And they took my husband to St. Thomas Alcoholic Ward. And they took me to Youngstown Alcoholic Clinic. KC and I came out of the hospital. We come out on the same day. We managed to get that bed cleaned up. My sister said she wouldn't even get a cleaning lady. She says, let them come back and see where they've been. You know, like if that would scare an alcoholic. But I believe part of them cats had been in that house. That was the stinkingest, dirtiest place you've ever seen. Casey and I managed to clean up the bed, and we laid down. You understand, we didn't do no praying and stuff like that. Why, that Casey embarrassed me to death. You know what he said to me? He said, you know, Kay, what they told me at St. Thomas, they said that prayer is essential for the recovery of the alcoholic. Well, I said, go ahead and pray. He said, you do it. Now, I said, if you want to pray, you go ahead and pray. Lord, we've been married all these years, and we never did talk about stuff like that. He said, Kay, you pray. You've had more practice at it than I have. And Casey and I said our first prayer together. My friends, that was 11 years ago, September the 25th. We have not had a drop of alcohol or any other mind-altering drug. If I sound like I'm bragging a whole lot, I am. Because you see, I am so grateful. Whereas before, there was no way for me to go more than 2.5, 3 hours without having to have a drink. And now I have been sober now, uninterrupted, a little over 11 years. But you know, I didn't get that from sitting home and watching the television. Casey and I that very night went to an AA meeting, and we was sick. We was as sick coming out of the hospital as some people are going in. And we went to a meeting. We wanted to save our life. We didn't want to die. They said one more day, one more bottle, and we'd be dead. And we didn't want to die. We started going to those meetings. And lo and behold, we found a way to live. A way to live and be comfortable and be happy without alcohol. Now, we had so many, and we do in Akron. We are so lucky because we have so many old-timers. These people were the examples to us. They knew how much that we wanted to stay sober, and they done everything in their power to help us. I like to refer to that as walking on the shoulders of the giants. Walking on the shoulders of the giants, because, friends, it was these old-timers that helped us. We started following them around because we didn't want to drink. The first year my husband and I were in this program of Alcoholics Anonymous, we missed 6 meetings the first year. We went to a meeting every night of the week. Sometimes we'd even go to a couple a day, maybe on Sundays. They told me that I was going to have to change my attitude. Now, I didn't think that there was anything the matter with my attitude. Now, I'd sit on a bar stool, some old gal would come in hustling a drink, and I'd look down my nose at her, and I'd say to Casey, if she doesn't have the money, what's she doing here? If I hadn't had $1 to have bought a drink, what would I have been doing? What would you have been doing? They told me in Alcoholics Anonymous that I never, ever look down on another human being unless I reach over to pick them up. They told me if I point a finger at you, there's 3 more coming back until I have walked in that person's shoes. They told me that I could not afford to have resentments, self-pity, that those were killers. Oh, I can get a resentment, and I do, but I can't keep it. I've got to get rid of it. They told me so many, many things. They told me that I would have to come to believe in God. I started praying. I said, if there is a God, let me believe. Now, if there's any new people here, a lot of people doesn't like to talk about God. It might scare you away. Well, I'm going to tell you, I don't know, again, if anything will scare a drunk away. And certainly, I do know for myself that God, as I've come to understand Him, is important. It is important. Because when I get up in the morning, I ask God to help me. I turn my life and my will over to the care of God. You see, I couldn't manage my life. Lord knows I tried, but I couldn't do it. So when they told me, turn it over to somebody else, I thought, hey, that's not a bad idea. And I said, far down on the totem pole, it just might work. And you know it has. But I ask God when I get up in the morning to help me to be a little better person today. Help me to be a little kinder. Help me not to say anything to hurt. another one of God's kids. And that's what we are. We're just another one of God's kids. We're all important. We're all important. I heard someone say, God don't make junk. So we're all really important. Sometimes we don't think we are, but we are. And but many times during the day I have to ask God to guide me. I have a quick forgetter. I can forget very easily. So many times I have to go back to God. And if you've never tried this praying business, don't knock it. It'll work. Anything that would work for me would work for anyone. No one has to know that you're praying. If you're a little ashamed, that's okay. No one has to know. It's a private conversation between you and your God as you understand Him. I also found out you can reverse the charges if you want to. And boy, I like that. And then they told me God don't work union hours. You can call Him any time of the day or night. And I thought, hey, that's pretty good because, you know, I need a lot of help different times of the day. If God seems a little hard for you, they told me to change it to just good, orderly direction. I like to think of it as just putting another zero or another O in God. Just good. Just be good. And then at night, when I go to bed at night, if I've been sober, which I have, then I say, thank you, God. To me, it's only common courtesy. If you would hand me a glass of water, I'd say, thank you. Then isn't it only fitting that I say, thank you, God? But you know, there is so much to this program of Alcoholics Anonymous. We have a big book. You'll see it on the literature tables. It's called The Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. It's a book that was written by alcoholics for alcoholics. Every answer you will ever need for good living, you will find it in the first 164 pages of that book. It's a good book. It's a good book. I think they sell for about $5.50, something like that. But before you get the honesty part of the program, and you don't have the money, you steal one of them books. It can save your life. It can save your life, mister, because the answers are all in there. I keep my big book laying on my coffee table at home, and I read it daily. I read one shot glass full at least. That's all, just that much. And you know, it's amazing that I always find something in there that I didn't know was there before. Now, we have a lot of literature, a lot of good literature. But for me, they just really copied out a big book. No, we really have a lot of helpful things. Like in that big book, it tells you in there that we have to concede to the fact that we are alcoholics. That we can't go back to the way things once was, how I tried and I tried. Chapter 11 talks about that too, where it says, I tried to go back, but there was no going back. There's no turning around. My program basically is very simple. It has to be a simple program for somebody like me. I believe for me that I have to always remember that first step, where I come from. I'm an alcoholic. My life had become unmanageable. And I know that if I'd take a drink, that again my life would be unmanageable. You know, I tried to sell myself a bill of goods for a long time that I could still drink, but then look what an idiot I had to sell it to. So I really know that I can't drink. But so what? A lot of people can't eat spaghetti. It's no big deal. You know, another thing that I've found, you know, there's many different areas in this program. You don't just come to a meeting and then just get up and go home. We have a lot of fun. We do a lot of things in AA, or at least I do. God, we go to dances and picnics and everything. But I say to a new person, if you go to meetings, you'll meet a whole new set of friends. Now, the speaker is not going to keep you sober. Anything I say is not going to keep you sober. But I'm going to tell you what, if you'll stick around and have a cup of coffee with your friends, you'll remember that. You'll remember that forever. And that's what keeps you sober, is the friends, the understanding, the caring, the love that you have. But go to these meetings. This is your tool room. This is where you learn. Get the tools for sobriety. I believe these things. Maybe you're new. Maybe you're scared. Maybe you're nervous. Maybe you're shaken. That's all right. Settle on your hands. Go to your AA meetings and just keep on going. After a while, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, somebody might let you empty an ashtray. And you go back the next week and maybe they'll let you pour them a cup of coffee. If you don't spill too much, you might let you pour again the next week. Just keep on going. Go to a lot of meetings. And then when you find a group that you're a little more comfortable with and that you know that you can make regularly, make that your home group. And then get active in your central office or your intergroup office if you have one. Go to the hospital, see these sick people. This makes you feel good, makes you feel real good. And then we have general service. General service is exactly what it says. It's general service. This is what protects our traditions. You know, if it wasn't for general service, we'd be just one heck of a mess. But general service is a glue that puts it all together. There's many different areas. I go to a lot of conferences. I'm very privileged. Everything good that can ever happen to anyone has happened to me since I've been in the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. It makes me feel so good when I go to a meeting. I've seen it tonight, too. Seen 2 big old boys, and they went up and they put their arms around each other, and you could just see this just tickled to death. And sometimes you'll see this happen, and the tears will run down their face. Now, big boys. Now, you know, we teach our little boys, don't cry. Big men don't cry. Well, I'm going to tell you something. Big men do cry. And why not? Why not? We should share our emotions. If they're good, let's share them. And if they're bad, let's share them. Sharing and caring, understanding one another. It's wonderful. I'm one of these handshaking AAs. I like to put out my hand. I like to feel you. It feels good when you shake hands. I know you're my friend. You're not going to hurt me. You're going to love me. Maybe not for what I am, but for what I'm trying to be. You know, and it feels good to shake hands. You don't know if a person's been new, if it's their first day in the program. But go shake their hands and find out. Make a new friend. We have another program. It's called Al-Anon. Now, you know, that's for non-drinking people. Now, that's for the spouse or the friend of the alcoholic. Now, I'm going to tell you, I think some of them gals and guys really need a program. Because anyone that would live with the drunk, there has to be something matter with them. And they need a lot of help. And they get in there and they help each other. And I've seen some of them really straighten right up. Now, I like Al-Anon. I really like Al-Anon. I sent Casey to a couple, 3 meetings. Because I figured that old boy needs all the help he can get. And those Alateens, wonderful, wonderful little kids. You know, a little Alateen told me once, she says, making our amends. She said, would you parents please quit saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. She said, just by being back and you're changing, that is all we need. So from that day on, I quit saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I tried to show my kids and my people that I am different. I am different. I am not the same person. Beautiful, beautiful things. My husband has not had a drink. Now, I know that there's no Mr. AAs in this program, but I'm going to tell you something. I think I'm married to the nicest guy in Alcoholics Anonymous. I really do. He's a good old boy. He don't look too bad either since we got him sobered up. But we belong to the same group. We belong to the Flame Group in Akron, and he really is a good AA. We do a lot of sponsoring. I think that's the name of the game, too. You go out, and I hope to God the day never comes or the night is too dark that I say I don't have time. Because I don't care what kind of a place it is, if I can ever go out and put my arm around that gal and say, honey, there's a way out. A way that you don't have to drink anymore. I sponsored a lot of people. Some of them stayed sober too, would you believe? Some of them drank. But you know, I'm not responsible for that so long as I carry the message, so long as I do the best I can. You might hear someone say that there's just a little clique down there. I knew some old boy, he thought that because every night after their regular AA meeting, well, there'd be 3 or 4. They just hang around, you know, after everybody leaves. So one night he decided he'd stay and find out what was going on. And you know, he's been sweeping the floor ever since. So you want to be kind of careful in case you decide to join the clique. Something else that I think is important for newer people is gossip. You'll hear people say, oh, all they do down there is gossip. Now, I'm going to tell you something that you'll never hear a member of Alcoholics Anonymous that is practicing the principles of this program that will gossip. You might say, oh, yeah, but I did. I said if they are practicing the principles of this program. Because I'm going to tell you, baby, we don't do it. Not if you're practicing. Because, look, we've had it rough enough. We've got to hang in there together. Let's help one another. I have a story about a little kitty cat. This little girl had this cat, and she kept petting it, and she kept brushing it, and she was just having some time with that cat. And her little girlfriend said to her, she said, why do you keep brushing and petting that cat all the time? Oh, she said, I'm going to enter her into a cat show. Well, she said, I don't know why, because she won't win any prizes. Oh, she said, I don't expect her to, but she'll meet a lot of nice cats. Well, now that's what's happened to me since I've been that age. I haven't won any prizes, but God, I've met a lot of nice cats. Fine, fine people. I've met people that really love and care about me. I believe that first drink, we have to stay away from that first drink. That's the one that will get you. I have a little jewel here. You know that little boy took me to the hospital, got me out of jail? He's in the Navy. He wrote me this part of a letter. He said, you and Daddy will never know how glad Kathy and I were the day you quit drinking. I can never explain in words how proud of you we are. Please don't ever start again. I was sober 2 years when he said, number 2 anniversary is coming up real soon. I can never tell you how much it means to me and Kathy to know that we have the sweetest and the soberest parents in the world. That, my friends, is what they call a fringe benefit. I got that, you know, because you gave me a program and you said, you old silly, just work it the best you can and don't drink, go to meetings and don't drink in between times. And that's just what I done. Now, I don't know if I'm practicing those steps exactly like our founders meant for me to, but I sure am trying. I think that honesty is the most important thing, to get honest. I think gratitude, I think if I'm grateful, I'm not liable to take a drink. Now, I could stand here and tell you how grateful I am, but if I really am grateful, I wouldn't have to tell you. I'm kind of glad, not kind of, but real glad to see some of the friends that I know. It always makes me feel good at a conference because they, well, I guess they just kind of keep me a little more honest. I have 4 grandsons. Boy, now they really think I'm some nice granny. You know, these kids never has to see me take a drink. That's great. I mean, it's great for me. Everything's good for me. I've had a lot of bad times. I lost my father at Christmas. I lost a brother a couple of years ago. He was a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I lost a sister-in-law about 3 years ago. It's kind of hard. But you know what? I didn't have to go it alone. All I done was call my different friends up, and they shared with me. You see, today I can cope with anything without having to have a drink. Before, I could cope with absolutely nothing. But anything I am, anything I'd ever hoped to be, I owe it all directly to Alcoholics Anonymous. You might think, well, if I come into that crazy program, what'll I get out of it? Well, we promise you sobriety if you try to the best of your ability to follow our way of life, our program, our 12 steps, our traditions. But they have given me hope instead of desperation, faith instead of despair, courage instead of fear, peace of mind instead of confusion, self-respect instead of self-contempt, self-confidence instead of helplessness, the respect of others instead of their pity, a clean conscience instead of a sense of guilt, real friendship instead of loneliness, a clean pattern of life instead of a purposeless existence, the love and understanding of my family instead of their doubts and their fears, the freedom of a happy life instead of the bondage of an alcoholic obsession. These are the things that you have given me. These are the things that I can always have if I hang on to this program, to your hand and to the hand of God, and I don't take that drink. I can have this program as long as I deserve it. As long as I deserve it. I hope that I will always be deserving of it. Again, I would really like to tell you how truly grateful I am that you invited me to share this evening with you. I'm sure you're going to have a wonderful weekend. I know I am. You know, we kind of carry our own sunshine. We can have as good a time as we want to, or we can be as miserable as we want to. So I'm going to have a good time, and I know that you're going to hear a lot of nice things that you can take home with you. And I'm going to close my part of the meeting with a poem by Helen Steiner Rice, and it says so much more than I can. I've never seen God, but I know how I feel. It's people like you who make Him so real. My God is no stranger. He's friendly and gay. He doesn't ask me to weep when I pray. It seems that I pass Him so often each day in the faces of people I meet on my way. He's the stars in the heaven, a smile on some face, a leaf on a tree, or a rose in a vase. He's winter and autumn, and summer and spring. In short, God is every real wonderful thing. I wish I might meet Him much more than I do, and I would if there were more people like you. God bless you, and I love you.
Thank you, Kay, for a beautiful talk. It was a very moving talk, and you have given us so much to take home with us tonight. My feelings are I'm so emotional about her talk because I identified with so many of the things that she said. All that suffering, all that degradation of a woman alcoholic. I'm so privileged to be here to hear you tonight. And I know all of us feel the same way. And you really started things off with a bang with this 23rd Georgia Convention. And if there are no announcements to be made,